Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Big Footy Tiger Cast, the 2024 mock draft. It's our first attempt of ever doing this, so go easy on us. But we thought with everyone else doing the mock draft with only a few days to go until the big night itself that we should put out our own version. Now, we will say up front that this does not include academy bid players, so it's just the players on the draft board as per what the current selections are. So no academy bids, so it just keeps it a bit cleaner. No trades involved either because we can't predict the future like that too well. So we've left them off the board too. How we've worked this is we've actually sort of snake laddered our selections. So whoever started first will then get two back-to-back picks after the other two have gone, and so on and so forth. But you'll see from the slides that will pop up that it actually does say who picked who, the team they're going to, and some key stats as well. So we hope you enjoyed the mock draft. Make sure you let us know what you think in the comments below, and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel as well. With that said, EJ, you were lucky enough to have the first pick of the mock draft. What have you gone with?
We've picked number one, player number 44444 from the GWV Rebels, Sam Lawler.
Oh,
that'll be the last time I do the numbers. Look, mid forward, he's well talked about in regards to maybe going to us. Clean hands, a good kick, physicality, he's explosive. Obviously, obvious comparisons have been made to Martin, but also think to go in even Petrarca, because the defensive side of his game is much, much stronger and he's much more willing to do that sort of work. Probably a few months ago wasn't the natural number one pick, but I think people are realising he's got a really high ceiling, and I think it's a perfect fit for Richmond to kick things off.
I do argue with that. Grock, you were blessed with pick number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. With pick number 2 for North, I've gone Finn O'Sullivan. Obviously, there's talk about Alex Taru being taken here in the real thing. But I just think with the way that North Melbourne have built their list at the moment, I think Finn O'Sullivan as that mid-forward target for them, especially up forward with his aerial ability to help out Nick Larkey, Cam Zerha when he goes down there. I just think he's too good to pass up. He's just very much a dual threat in that he can go through the midfield. He's clean, can hit targets, but can also impact up forward. I just think he's too well-rounded. And Taru is a bit of a high-risk, high-reward type pick. So I think the Kangas have gone safe here.
Yep, can't complain with that one. I've got the next two, so we'll go Carlton. At pick number 3 are going to go with Sid Draper, which hurts a little bit because I'm really all on top of Sid Draper. I think he's going to be a superstar. Oozes class, he's got burst of speed, and for me, that seems to be one of the big points of difference between he and O'Sullivan and Lawler, is I feel like he's just a touch quicker than both of them. Tough at the contest, is good in and out of traffic, and I feel like he's going to complement the Blues midfield really well, developing alongside Walsh and Cripps. I think he's going to blend in nicely with them. Average 21 disposals in the champs. Does have a bit of there was a bit of a concern about a back injury, but it sounds like that's relatively manageable. And I think the Blues might jump on board for Sid Draper, who's going to be a super player. Pick number 4, the Adelaide Crows are going to select Jagger Smith, which hurts a little bit as well because he's sort of our man in some ways because he's done a lot of work with the club in the VFL, but the Crows are going to get an absolute ripper here. Jagger was touted as the number 1 pick for quite some time, as we know, and it's only been the last few months where it's kind of changed a little bit, but you can still make strong arguments for him to be the number 1 choice. He's a known accumulator. He's already shown he can handle himself playing against men at VFL level. Now, even though AFL level is a big step up from VFL, the fact he was still able to average 28 to 30 disposals in a VFL game consistently suggests that he's got what it takes to handle it against the big boys. He's a quick thinker in traffic, shows great leadership traits. He just ticks all the boxes, and he averaged 29.3 disposals in the champs. So when you can do that against the best of your peers, I think you're going to transfer your skills really nicely to AFL level. So the Crows, I think, will take Jagger Smith. Pick 5 is back to you, Grock.
Yeah, pick 5. I've got the Ds, and I've got the Ds taking Harvey Langford. Langford is one of these players that can like where he goes is up in the air. Could be as high as pick 4 to pick 10. It just depends. But I think he's just too good to pass up for the D's here with his ability to go through the midfield, win his own ball. He's highly consistent. He's got a decent kick on him. But also, he's a decent size at 191 centimetres. He offers them a difference of opinion. And he can go forward as well and hit the scoreboard there. Really solid defensively. I mean, the knock on him is his speed, but if you can win your own ball in and around the contest and you've got an overhead mark as decent as what Langford's is, it's not going to worry you too much. And I just think he's going to bring a different dynamic to what the D's midfield has right now, especially with Oliver and Petrarca, question marks on them. I think he's going to be that next sort of midfielder that they'll be basing their game around.
I like it. He's going to be an interesting one on the night. EJ, pick number 6.
Well, Richmond are a bit disappointed because Harvey Langford is a Richmond supporter, and that's who they were going to take.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, Richmond at pick 6 have taken Josh Smiley for very similar reasons that Grock has outlined. You know, his size, strength, and skill, modern day blueprint for a midfielder. Again, same thing. There's probably a question mark on the pace, but his combativeness in the clinches is something he thrives on. He's 195 centimetres, so he's a good size. He's shown he can also go forward and make an impact. Sort of think maybe like Tom Green. So Richmond have lacked size in the middle for a while. And with Lawler and Smiley, you've got 188 and 195. You've got a bit of grunt, but the difference is you've got power with Smiley and you've got explosiveness with Lawler. So it's a really good combination.
And we are heavily linked to him as well for more reports. So I do like that selection there. EJ, you're up again with pick number 7.
Where are we? Pick number 7.
St Kilda.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for my screen to click over. At pick number 7, St Kilda picked Murphy Reid. He is class and poise. He's a creator and he sees the game quicker than most in this draft. His decision-making is fantastic. He can run all day. And St Kilda have a good, even midfield with your steel types, but they don't have that pure class. I mean, you've got class on the half-back line with Sinclair, but they need to add that into the guts, and this fits their list beautifully.
He's a good pick. I'd be very keen to grab him as well if they didn't. Grock, pick number 8.
Yeah, pick number 8. I've gone a player that I mentioned earlier in Alex Taru. I think right now at pick 8, absolute bargain for potentially, in my opinion, what could be the best player in this draft in terms of upsize, in terms of his potential. He has all the traits. He's extremely athletic. Can play all over the ground, competes well, hates to get beaten. Very, very similar in the mould to Noah Bolter in the way that he plays, reads the play and the ball coming to him. Again, it's just a question mark, much like what was on Noah is where's his best position. He's been thrown all over the park. He's played down back, played up forward, played on a wing. But at pick 8, I just think he's, like, as a defender, he's going to fit in extremely well with Callum Wilkie and the rest of the defenders down at St Kilda's backline. They're going to be very hard in a couple of years to score against with the intercepting that they'll possess.
Huge steal for the Saints at pick number 8 there. I like it. Melbourne have got pick number 9. And even though I said I don't want them to pick this player, I do ultimately think they will. I think they're going to go with Harry Armstrong, who's one of the highly touted key forwards of the draft. Armstrong, even though the D's have got Jefferson in the VFL, I do think Armstrong would be a really good pairing for Van Rooyen and Bailey Fritsch when he sort of gets up to the level. He kicked 27 goals in 10 games for Sandringham. He stands up in big games when it counts. And he's done a lot of goal kicking training with Matthew Lloyd. So his actual technique in action is actually quite clean and slick. And as you see from the footage, if you watch the highlights, he's kicking goals from long range as well. So he's kicking from 50, 55 and clearing it pretty easily. Very, very athletic, impacts the scoreboard. I'd like to see him do some more contested marking. Maybe it was the type of footage I was watching that didn't have it. But I think he's going to be a very strong addition to the D's forward line in the future. So they've gone Harry Armstrong. Okay, so after the first 9 picks, this is what the draft board looks like. Number 1, we've got Sam Lawler to the Tigers. Number 2, Finn O'Sullivan to the Kangaroos. Number 3, pick Sid Draper to the Blues. Number 4, Jagger Smith to the Crows. Number 5, pick Harvey Langford to the D's. Number 6, pick Josh Smiley to the Tigers. Number 7, pick Murphy Reid to the Saints. Number 8, pick Alex Taru to the Saints. And pick number 9, Harry Armstrong to the D's. Gents, I'm liking your picks so far. Any hesitations or any regrets with any of the ones you've put up so far? Or everyone's pretty comfortable?
The only one for me would be pick 2. I think I'm going to get flamed for not taking Taru to North, but yeah, that's about it. I think everything else looks pretty solid.
Yeah,
and I think the fun part about it is because we're doing a snake, and so we're not just picking them ourselves. It probably works out a little bit differently than how we would each imagine it individually. And it's actually made the exercise even more fun because, yeah, it's been really good.
You're right. Yeah, it's a good point.
I think when you look at the draft now, Melbourne and Saints would be both pumped to have 2 picks in the top 10, and they'd be really happy with what they've walked away with here.
Absolutely. And there's already a change, like pick number 7 for St Kilda. I would have picked the player that you've picked next, Michaels, at 7 if I had been in charge of that pick.
Yeah, but I agree. Anyone who's walked away with this haul would be loving life so far. All right, we'll move on to pick number 10, which is back with the Tigers. And I've gone with Xavier Lindsay, who I'm really big raps on. I know we spoke about him on the show a couple of weeks ago as being potentially one of the most well-rounded players in the draft. I think he would slot in really, really nicely. And I wouldn't be shocked if he played early days if we took him as well. Gippsland Power captain, averaging 23.1 disposals in the Coates League season. And he had a 30 disposal, 11 mark and 8 tackle game against Vic Metro as well. Importantly, he's got good kick penetration and versatility, which is something that we kind of need, especially if he was playing in the back half. Especially, we've kind of gone a bit off Jaden Short's kicking in recent times. So he and someone like a Tom Brown, for example, if they were playing in the back line together, could do some damage. But he's not just pigeonholed to the back line. He can move up the ground as well, and that's why I like his versatility and his work rate. The one thing we've sorely lacked is having someone who's prepared to run both ways. So I'd be all over Xavier Lindsay at pick number 10. Pick number 11, over to you, Grock.
Yeah, pick number 11, I've gone Toby Travalia, and I think this one speaks for itself given the personnel that we've lost in Dan Rioli and Liam Baker, players who have played off a half-back and given us a lot of drive and a lot of use. And as you mentioned, Jaden Short, his kicking has become a bit of a deficiency at times. And we know that Short's not exactly the best defensively either. Travalia coming in will rectify that. He'll be a direct replacement for Dan Rioli going forward. Loves to take the game on, loves to run and carry. He's got great speed. But the bigger positive with Travalia is he's also defensively minded. He's very accountable for his opponent and can take an intercept mark. So he's sort of that hybrid defender in that he can defend really well, but also set the game up going forward. And with the players that Richmond have lost in the trade period, it's just the natural fit to take him to replace the losses.
I like it. EJ, over to you. Pick number 12 for the West Coast Eagles.
With pick 12, the West Coast Eagles take Bo Allen. He's a WA boy, which negates the go-home factor, which is important, but this is roughly around where he is anyway. He's a strong bruising mid, good size, 191 centimetres. His defensive game is as good as any mid in the draft, and he absolutely screams leadership. When you've got people like Yo, who are getting on in years or whatever, this is the perfect segue for WA to have a couple of years with Baker and Duggan and Yo and Kelly around him to bring him on. I think he's a fantastic fit for West Coast.
I like him. I do like him as a player, and I'm hoping that we show some interest as well. You've also got the next pick, EJ, pick number 13 for Port Adelaide.
Yeah, I'm not happy about this one.
This is interesting. I like it.
Well, you've got to go with what your selection is. Personally, I'd like to see him at our club, but pick 13, Port Adelaide take Luke Traynor, the best intercept defender in the draft. Good size at 194 centimetres. He's also spent a long time as a forward, aiding his ability to read the play, and he's really good on the intercept. And his disposal, once he gets it, is first class. Port have an inconsistent backline. They've been relying on Radaglia and McKenzie, who's now gone, and Alir. They're a little bit flaky down back. And I really think they need strengthening down there. They've got a really good, solid core of young mids. They've got a couple of interesting, forwards. Like I really like Georgiades. I really think they need help down back. And I think for Port, if he's available, this is a no-brainer.
I like it. I'm going to be interested to see the comments surrounding that one. There's obviously the concussions, but he's seemingly doing pretty well now. So as long as that's all under control, it's a super pick for Port Adelaide. Grock, you're up next with pick 14 for Fremantle.
Yeah, pick 14 for Freo. I've gone Joe Barry, the best small forward in the draft. I just think with his evasiveness, his athletic traits, he's very, very clever up forward, crafty around goals, knows where the goals are, tackles, is defensive, he's very, very accurate with the ball. And I just think with Fremantle's three forwards that they play with Jackson, Tracy and Amos, throwing in Bolton up forward who can also take a contested mark, but having four aerial threats and Barry crumbing at the feet of them, I just think this is a prospect that Freo won't want to pass up. That he'll add a lot of damage and hurt factor against opposition in the forward half.
It's a good pick from Freo. I like it. Okay, I've got the next one, pick 15 for GWS Giants. I have them taking Jack Whitlock. So Jack Whitlock, he's got great mobility, very good aerially, and my view with him is I don't necessarily think he will play straight away because they do have quite a few players in the forward line with Stringer. They've got Cadman. They've obviously got Jesse Hogan, who's coming off one of his best years ever. But they're also very good people to learn from, and I think as part of a succession plan, because Hogan's, I suppose, on the latter side of his career as his Stringer, that Whitlock could then kind of slot in after those guys move on. He does have to put on a little bit of size, I suppose, as well. He kicked 24 goals for the Bushrangers this year, and he got 4 goals for Vic Country and averaged 5 marks. Very competitive, clean hands, very good overhead mark. So he's got all the natural forward traits that you want to see, and I just think he could be a good play to slot in after one of those guys retire. Pick 16, also for the GWS Giants, and this would be, if this comes off, this would be considered a legitimate steal based on his pure talent. Taj Houghton. Now, Taj obviously had the ACL injury, which has put him out of action for most of this year, which may be a little bit of a deterrent for some clubs to pick him up early. But based on raw talent alone, he was always touted as around a top 10 pick. The guy can seriously play. He didn't play many games in 2024, but one of the standout games he did have was 32 disposals, 10 marks, and 4 goals in round 2, just off the charts. He oozes X factor. He's got pace, clean hands, hit the scoreboard. He can play through the midfield as well as playing up forward, so he's very versatile in that sense. And I just think that you got to take a risk. And ACL injuries are unfortunately pretty common these days. So him recovering from it, I don't think any club should fear. I just think he might slide a fraction on draft night. And yeah, if the Giants can nab him here, he's going to be a legitimate steal for him. Pick 17, back to you, Grock, for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, this was tricky because there was a couple of players there that I considered, but at pick 17, I've gone Ollie Hannaford from the Rebels. He's a fantastic player, actually. A utility, can play halfback, can play through the midfield, can go forward. He was number 1 in the agility test at the National Combine, doing a 7.922, which is elite with his agility. Loves to pressure, loves to tackle. He's got a great burst of speed from a stoppage, really powerful, really strong, tough, commits, wins his own ball. As I said, can play halfback, can go through the midfield and up forward. Kicked 6 goals against Geelong in the Talent League, which was fantastic. So it just showcases that he's going to be a versatile player, and I think that's going to suit the Bulldogs sort of with the way that they play. Having him come through and play on a half-back line is where I think he'll start. And then once he bulks up a bit and moves in, once Bontempelli and Liberatore and that start aging, he'll be that next big sort of contested mid that they'll want.
Very good. EJ, back to you. Pick 18 for the Tigers.
With pick 18, Richmond take Job Shanahan. It's no secret that, the Tigers need to invest forward of the ball. Lynch is coming to the end. He's good size, 194 centimetres. He's already played at VFL level. He kicked 11 goals in 3 games for Essendon, so it sort of shows that I don't think there'll be any problem with him having the step up. He's a booming kick. He's got really good endurance and works up the ground well, and he's got strong hands on the lee and impact. Unlike you were talking about Armstrong earlier, there's no question about this guy in that part of the game. Needed by the Tigers. If we miss Armstrong, we take Shanahan.
Okay, so now we've got a bit of a snapshot of the picks 10 to 18. So the Tigers took Xavier Lindsay and Toby Travalia with their next 2 picks. Bo Allen to the Eagles, Luke Traynor to Port Adelaide, which I think might surprise a few, but on pure form and ability, he deserves to be up pretty high. Joe Berry to the Dockers, Jack Whitlock and Taj Houghton to the Giants, Oliver Hannaford to the Bulldogs, and Job Shanahan to the Tigers. Look, not too many complaints there. There's the 2 players that stand out for me in that lot is probably Luke Traynor and Taj Houghton, just from a risk versus reward perspective. But based on talent, gents, those 2 players can't possibly go any further than that, surely.
That's the biggest thing. Traynor is the wild card of this draft. Like, again, with his concussion history, he had 2 last year and 1 this year. Clubs are already wary. 3 head knocks before you even get to a much more high intensity program at AFL level, where there's a lot less time. It's a lot more contested, a lot more tackling. Yeah, there's a big wild card there. And as you said, it's a risk versus reward. Before the concussion stuff came out, he was a top 5 pick, and North were considering him at pick 2. So, yeah, he's one that I wouldn't be surprised if he does slip out of the top 20. Clubs might want to be banking with the depth of this draft so far, with the top 25 picks. Clubs may want to maybe wait until pick 30 odd before they take him, just so they can know they get someone with a clean bill of health. And there's also some risks with Taj Houghton as well, not just from his ACL, but apparently there's been some scans showing some potential damage to his foot as well. So it's going to be interesting to see where those 2 players go.
All right, EJ, you have pick 19 for the Sydney Swans.
All right, I really like this kid. At pick 19, the Swans take Cooper Hines, 190 centimetres, a forward mid. He's strong, he's bustling, he breaks tackles. He's also excellent overhead. He'll make his presence felt just as much forward of the ball as in the middle of the ground. He kicked 23 goals in 15 games this year, whilst also averaging 24 disposals a game. So that really showcased his ability to do damage in both parts of the ground. It's actually, I would love him at the Tigers.
I was going to say they're pretty impressive stats, to be honest.
Yeah.
Grock, you've got pick number 20 for Richmond.
Yeah, pick number 20 is my man that I've raved about all year, Jonty Fall. I just think in this draft, with the amount of talls in the top 25, Richmond need to take 2 minimum, with our cupboards being a bit bare. But Jonty Fall offers something different than all the others combined. He reads the play really, really well, knows where the drop of the ball's going to fall. No pun intended there. But yeah, he's a competitive beast as well. When the ball's on the ground, he harasses, he puts defensive pressure on, he tackles, he tries to help out defensively. He's a really good set shot as well, and he's very similar to Jack Riewoldt in the way that he plays, in that he loves to get a run at the ball and have a jump at it. But when the ball's on the ground, he fights like hell to keep it in, puts pressure on to help set up his teammates and set up defensively. So I just think at Richmond, he's going to be that third tall that we're lacking right now.
Look at the number on his jumper.
Oh yes,
Number 8.
It's a sign.
It's a sign. It's happening.
It's happening. Very good pick. I've got pick 21 for the GWS Giants, and I've got them taking Christian Moraes, who plays for the Eastern Rangers. So Christian was actually in his top AG was touted as a top 10 prospect early days, so he can actually play quite well. He accumulates the ball, clean hands, and I think what I like about him and why I think he's going to appeal to teams is because of his scoreboard impact and versatility. So I think, look, I'm not sure whether he would get a run straight away with the Giants because of how talented their midfield is, but he's the type of player that I can see cracking into this side in a year or two and causing some serious damage out there, whether that's on wing, half forward. Like I say, he's pretty versatile and can play in multiple positions. So I think they might have a cheeky look at Christian. And I've also got pick 22 for the Sydney Swans. And for the Swannies, I've gone with Matt Whitlock. Now, there might be a little controversy surrounding this one because maybe he's deemed as a bit more of a project player. Maybe people think he can go straight away. Maybe not straight away, but in years 1 or 2, I'm not too sure. But he's a very talented prospect. And while he's still a bit raw, he still kicked 27 goals for the Bush Rangers, plays at both ends of the ground so he can go forward and back. And in the combine, he actually tested top 10 for standing and running vertical jump. So the upside that he has is actually quite high. And I know the Swannies aren't really strong for key forward options. And I know this doesn't solve it as an immediate now thing, but I think it could be a way they could potentially set themselves up with a nice tall player who can play at both ends going forward. So good intercept mark, good agility, like I said before, and he's got a fantastic leap on him. But most importantly, I think he's got tremendous upside. So maybe it's deemed a little bit of a riskier pick compared to who else is left on the board, but I think it could be one worth taking. Next pick, or the last pick, should I say, goes to Grock for Richmond.
Yeah, with the last pick, I've gone Jesse Detoli. I think right now it's the best pick on the board in terms of overall talent and potential upside. Small forward midfielder who can impact in either area. Extremely good kick. Like his vision and ability to hit targets is insane for a player of his size. Can find the ball himself, tackles, runs, defensively minded, but he's also extremely creative up forward. And I just think with Richmond, with the way that they play, having that player who can transition from the forward line up to the midfield and back again is something that we do develop pretty well. We've got a lot of them right now, but I just think this is a purely a pick based on the best available talent, and I think he'll be a really good player for Richmond.
I like it. He's been your man for a long time, Jesse Detoli. So that wraps up the last few picks there. So we had Cooper Hines going to the Swans, Jonty Ford to the Tigers, Christian Moraes to the Giants, Matt Whitlock to the Swans, and Jesse Detoli to Richmond with pick 23. So that is a full wrap for the first round of the mock drafts. Grock and EJ, fantastic job, gents. Thank you very much for doing that for us. A reminder to everybody that we will be going live on Wednesday night of the draft night to watch along and see how the real picks play out. We'll have a couple of mock drafts on the screen here to compare to, just to see how accurate everyone got, which will be a good bit of fun. So make sure you tune in for that as well. But Grock and EJ, thank you so much for your work on this. It was very much appreciated.